Ever wondered how the pros got so good at the game? I mean, it's not like they just picked up the mouse and keyboard one day and immediately started destroying everyone. Every player starts out as a beginner, yet somehow certain players reach the top much faster than others. What is going on, ProGuides family? It is your host Sergeant Frost, and today we'll be talking about how pros improve at top speeds. What are they doing differently to distinguish themselves from the rest of us? And what can you learn from them? In today's video, we'll be covering some key reasons why they improve so fast, and how they relate to you as a player. So let's not waste any more time and hop right into it. One of the most important factors that determine your growth and ceiling as a player is mindset. Although mindset is something that we all kind of know, it's often hard to figure out what you need to build a good mindset, as well as what you need to avoid. After all, it's not very easy to notice these mistakes if you aren't aware of them, and they can really hold you back. So let's talk about some mindset traps that people fall into, and how pros deal with them or avoid them. One clear example is easily tilting. A lot of the time, all it takes is someone aggressively blaming a teammate or arguing with another player, and the whole team's mood can go down the drain very quickly. Knowing the true impact of tilt is really hard, especially when it comes to random solo queue teammates, but it's definitely present. And it's something that we all have run into at times. You or one of your teammates lose a winnable round, or you have someone with an attitude issue telling everyone how to play. Either way, you're feeling down, you're making weird mistakes you rarely make, and your teammates stop communicating or playing as a team. It's never a fun experience to deal with tilt, and it can lose you games that you were never supposed to lose. Another mindset trap that can hold you back is fixating on outside situations. Sometimes games are lost, and the other team had a smurf or maybe a player having the game of their life. Or maybe your teammates were bad or you just got unlucky, or you get what I'm trying to say. The issue with this is that fixating on situations that you can't control only takes valuable headspace away from figuring out what you could have done better. Believe it or not, most of the time, you're very much in a position to affect the outcome of a game, and you likely had rounds where you could have won had you played a little bit differently. In a game like Valorant, of course, nothing is guaranteed, so it's hard to judge in hindsight. But for the most part, you can control the outcome of a majority of your games, and you might not even know it. Blaming outside factors like teammates, smurfs, cheaters may be justified, but at the end of the day, it won't help you improve. And if you cannot improve, then you won't be able to climb past your rank, and you'll end up stagnating as a player. What pros do to deal with these types of problems in mindset is adopting something called a growth mindset. The truth is, every pro started out as a beginner too. The only difference is that they focused on themselves, and while other players were blaming their teammates, they found ways to improve. Pros realize that they have weaknesses in their game that they need to work on, but they also know that if they expend effort and try their hardest, there's nothing they can't overcome. This has had a lot to do with keeping their eyes on the prize, and having the confidence to embrace challenges as learning opportunities. This also means that if you're losing a game hard, you shouldn't let that strike you, because regardless of if you're winning or not, you can always use it as a learning experience to understand more about your weaknesses, and maybe also create new plays. Another important aspect of a pro's mindset is that they know how to learn from their mistakes, and they have the confidence to let themselves make those mistakes. An essential piece of advice a pro once told me was, learn to listen to your gut. The reason for this is that if you don't listen to your instincts, then in high-pressure games, you'll hesitate and make mistakes that you can't learn from easily. The reason for this is that if you made the mistake due to nerves, and those nerves changed your playstyle, then you don't know if it's a problem with your own play or a problem with your nervousness. If you can create the confidence to trust your instincts, then you can learn from your mistakes and create your own style of play. Of course, this doesn't mean just do whatever you want, but if your instincts are telling you to peek a certain angle, try it out and test your limits. If it's a success, you can keep a mental note and try it out again in the future. If it fails, then you can take note on that too, and try to figure out why your instincts were wrong. In general, the ability to focus on yourself, treat challenges as learning opportunities, and having the confidence to test your limits in a productive manner are what help pros avoid the issues with tilting at other players, and also being a spectator in their own games by proactively solving their own problems, and therefore increasing their chances of carrying. So that brings us to our question of the day. Today's question is, what is your current rank and what is your biggest weakness and strength? So far, I am Diamond 3 this act, and my biggest weakness is not dedicating enough time for me to climb the ladder. Personally, I'm a full-time college student and a full-time content creator as well, and sometimes I struggle with finding a balance with doing life responsibilities, keeping up with schoolwork, creating my own social media and video game content, and playing the game on a consistent basis enough where I can improve. I found that structuring my day time-wise in a better way can often allow me to have time to play Valorant or other video games in the evening. But as a 22-year-old student myself, it can often be hard to find a balance where you can play enough where you can constantly improve. Let us know what your rank is so far this act and what you think your biggest strength or weakness might be. Now, let's hop right back into the video. Sometimes it's hard to recognize your mistakes, and it's really easy to miss certain things in your gameplay. Getting a second opinion on things, and looking at the games with the eyes of someone more experienced, or even just with a different vision, is a great way to find things that you might have looked over initially, but are hugely important to look at, especially if you're not a top tier player yourself already. There's definitely a lot of things that you can improve on. A big part of improvement is finding people better than yourself to learn from, and surrounding yourself with people that are just as motivated as you are to learn. In professional teams, this usually means having 5 fiery players that are hungry to prove themselves, both as individuals and as a team, usually supported by a solid team of analysts, sports psychologists, and coaches. But in your scenario, it's probably more of getting a couple consistent teammates that you can queue with, and you all really want to improve, and you all care about the game as well. This is hugely important not only to create an environment to succeed as a player, but also to surround yourself with like-minded individuals who can help you grow, because the process of growing as a player is always better with company. If you feel that you don't have any like-minded players that you can play with at the moment, and if you feel that you need inspiration or guidance on how you can improve yourself as a player, we have Radiant and Immortal level coaches on our website ProGuides.com who are more than willing to help. Our website allows you to schedule coaching sessions where our coaches can go over your gameplay VODs to help pinpoint your mistakes, or they can even help you with your in-game needs as well. Coaching can help everyone, and we're dedicated to helping you reach your potential as a player. That's why after this video, if you feel like you're ready to take the first step towards improving yourself as a player, head over to our website using the link in the description of this video to start your self-improvement journey today. Another thing that pros do is build up experience through protocols. Protocols are basically set reactions or plays that you have already practiced and can do without having to think about it. It's something the pros use to make optimal decisions, and deal with common scenarios, and just in general free up headspace to focus more on the next step. This is especially important because it sets a baseline for you to learn more through the structured system guiding your own play and your own experiences. A simple protocol could be that when you're playing Killjoy on the B bomb side of defense on Ascent and you have your ultimate, my personal protocol or set reaction is to tell my teammates over on A to play for the retake, and set up retake utility on the B bomb site as well. So every time I notice I have my ultimate, I instantly know what I should do, and I give myself and my teammates plenty of time to play around that. Thinking about a Killjoy retake setup on the fly won't be nearly as effective, or as consistent as the one I already thought out fully beforehand. But once you get the basic structure out of the way is where protocols begin to help you more, since you don't have to worry about how you'll try to set up and where you'll play. Now your focus will be on what happens in the round. So if your setup ends up being tested, or you run into a situation you never expected, you won't have to ask the question, what was my goal that round anyways, before you start thinking about solutions. This is how pro players create insane defensive setups, and why pros seem to have an answer for everything. It's a lot less quick thinking, but more pattern recognition and being well prepared. Something that you can also do, although it might not be for everyone, is reviewing your VODs. VOD review is one of the fastest ways to learn, especially when doing it with a coach, and it's something that I dare say every single pro does. Like I mentioned earlier, most pro teams have a team of coaches and analysts, and one reason for that is so that they can have a second opinion. Reviewing VODs is something that for us ranked players is great to learn from our mistakes, but for pros it just doesn't do that, but also allows you to study up on the competition. We won't go into VOD review too much here, as most players aren't very interested in doing it, but if you want to see a full video just about VOD reviews, make sure to comment down below. Otherwise, you could perhaps take a look at streamers like Fnatic Boaster who stream VOD reviews somewhat regularly, meaning you can see him break down pro games from the eyes of a pro. But if he's not live, or you're simply more interested in watching and learning from your own games, what we would really recommend once again is getting yourself a coach. And last but certainly not least is structured practice. For pros, this usually means server time or scrims, but since you're likely not on a team, you would approach this slightly differently. Instead of going into a deathmatch blindly and just shooting around, give your deathmatch purpose by practicing something you want to improve on. Or if you're struggling with setups in game, you can use customs to, for example, help set up protocols by practicing plays, utility, or setups, or even just walking around the map coming up with ideas. The goal is to take your practice and make the most out of it, and that requires you to have a solid purpose or goal in mind when you do so. I'm not saying you have to consistently practice every day for X amount of hours, but that's also a plus. What I'm trying to say is that if you are in a position to practice something, make the most out of it. Practicing with a purpose in mind will beat someone mindlessly shooting around at targets 9 times out of 10. Well guys, that's going to be it for now. If you did enjoy, do make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to visit our website ProGuides.com for the very best courses as well as top ranked coaches. This has been your host Sergeant Frost, and I will see you all again in the next one.